King Solomon's Mines by H. Rider Haggard. It is a curious thing that at my age, 55 last birthday, I should find myself writing a story. I wonder what sort of tale it will be, if I ever finish it. My life has been an exciting one, travelling, hunting and mining in southern Africa. The story I'm going to tell is a strange one, and it is time I made a start. My name is Alan Quatermain of Durban, Natal. 18 months ago, I was aboard the steamship Dunkeld, returning home from Cape Town after an elephant hunt. Among my fellow passengers were two Englishmen. The first was Sir Henry Curtis, one of the biggest men I have ever seen. He had yellow hair and a thick yellow beard. His companion, Captain John Good, was a naval officer. Neat and clean-shaven, he always wore an eyeglass in his right eye. I found later that he only took it out when he went to bed, together with his false teeth. I was to come to know these two men very well. They were to share the greatest adventure of my life. The first evening at sea, I joined the two men for dinner. When I gave Sir Henry my name, he leaned forward eagerly.
Mr. Quatermain, I heard you were north of the Transvaal last year. Did you meet a man called Neville?
Oh, yes. He was with me for a fortnight before going on into the interior.
Do you know where he was going?
I heard something, I answered, then hesitated. Sir Henry and Captain Good looked at each other. Then Sir Henry went on,
Mr. Quatermain, I am going to ask for your help. Neville was my only brother, George.
Oh, I said, surprised.
Some 5 years ago,
Sir Henry explained,
we quarrelled, as brothers sometimes do. Just afterwards, my father died without leaving a will. All his property came to me as the elder son. My brother was left without a penny. Of course, I would have provided for him, but our quarrel had been very bitter.
He sighed.
Without telling me, he took the name of Neville and came to Africa in the wild hope of making a fortune. I have heard nothing since. Captain Good and I have come to look for him.
I heard he was heading for Solomon's Mines, I told them.
Solomon's Mines?
Exclaimed both men.
Where are they?
I only know where they are said to be. I lit my pipe as I spoke. I first heard the legend of King Solomon's diamond mines from an old hunter when I was a very young man. He told me that they lay somewhere beyond the Suliman Mountains across the Great Desert. A race of Zulus lived in the country there, big, fine men who knew the secret of the bright stones. I laughed at the story at the time, then forgot about it. I looked gravely at the two men. However, 20 years later, I was at a place called Sitanda's Kraal, and there I met a Portuguese, a man called José Silvestre. He was leaving to cross the desert, and he told me that when he came back, he would be the richest man in the world. A week later, he crawled back into my camp exhausted. I looked after him, but he was dying. Just before the end, he gave me an ancient map, which was supposed to show the way to Solomon's Mines. It had been in his family for 300 years. He had tried to follow it, but the desert had beaten him. I still have that map. In my cabin, I took the tattered map from my bag, and the three of us looked at it together. With his finger, Sir Henry traced the route from the Kalakawi River across the desert between the twin peaks of Sheba's Mountain and along Solomon's Road to the treasure cave.
And you think my brother has gone there?
I'm certain of it, I said. His Kaffir hunter told me.
Mr. Quatermain,
Sir Henry sat up.
I am going to look for him with or without the treasure. Will you come with me?
We may not come out alive, I told him seriously. But if you are prepared to take the chance, I will too. Once the Dunkeld reached Durban, I took my new friends to my home. And from there, we prepared for our great journey. We bought stores and rifles and ammunition. The day before we left, a strange Kaffir unexpectedly asked to see me. He was very tall and light-skinned for a Zulu.
My name is Umbopa,
he said, lifting his knobstick in salute.
I hear that you are taking white chiefs far into the north. Is it a true word?
The reasons for our journey had been kept secret. I looked at him suspiciously. Why do you ask? What is it to you? I demanded.
It is this, O white man. I would travel with you.
"We know nothing of you," I said, puzzled at the dignity in his speech and manner. He seemed different from the ordinary Zulu.
I am of the Zulu people, yet not of them.
He told me.
I came from the north as a child, and have wandered for many years. Now I am tired, and would go north again.
I translated his words for Sir Henry and Captain Good. Sir Henry stood up beside him. Umbopa was a magnificent-looking man, wearing a leopard skin and a necklace of lion's claws.
They make a fine pair, don't they?
Good said.
One as big as the other.
I like your looks, Umbopa.
Sir Henry spoke in English.
I will take you as my servant.
Umbopa evidently understood, for he answered in Zulu,
It is well.
It was settled. The first stage of our long and dangerous journey began the next morning. We left Durban at the end of January. By the middle of May, we had travelled more than 1,000 miles. Umbopa was a cheerful fellow, and he had the knack of keeping up our spirits when we grew weary. At length, we reached the edge of the desert and stood looking out over the sand. The sun was setting, and the air was very clear. Far away, we could see the faint blue outline of the Suliman Mountains. "That is the wall around Solomon's Mines," I said, pointing to them.
My brother should be there.
Sir Henry's voice was quiet.
We will find him.
Umbopa had appeared behind us.
Perhaps I too seek a brother over the mountains.
He said.
There is a strange land yonder, a land of brave people and a long white road.
I looked at him doubtfully. The man knew more than he would say.
You need not fear me.
He said, seeing my worry.
I will tell you all I know if we cross the mountains. But death sits upon them.
Sir Henry watched him walk away.
That is an odd man,
he said. All next day we rested. As the moon rose, flooding the wild country with light, we set off across the desert. We were to travel by night to avoid the burning heat of day. On we tramped, silently as shadows. Dawn came, and soon the sun was up, enveloping the desert in its fierce glow. We quickly sought shelter from the baking heat. Days and nights passed in the same way. Then came a moment when our precious water was gone. "We must find water," I croaked. Just in time, we found the waterhole marked on Silvestri's map by following fresh springbok tracks in the sand. Joyfully filling both ourselves and our water bottles, we set off again. The Suliman Mountains came closer. We left the desert behind and began to climb the lava slopes of Sheba's left peak. Our water was gone again, but we stumbled on a patch of wild melons. Poor fruit as they were, they saved our lives. On we went, upwards, until we were climbing through snow. At last we stood tired and hungry on top of the huge mountain. A glorious panorama unfolded itself to our gaze. Far below lay beautiful countryside. Here were dense forests. There a great river wound its silvery way across the plain. Nearby, some antelope basked in the sun. Here at last was food. Out came our rifles, and we shot a fine buck. After we had eaten, we felt life come back to us.
Look!
Exclaimed Sir Henry suddenly.
There is Solomon's Road.
Good and I followed his pointing finger. There it was, not far below us. Walking down the hillside, we stepped onto the road. We looked at it in amazement, for it appeared to be cut from solid rock. Walking was easy on its smooth surface, so we decided to follow it. After several miles, we stopped by a stream to rest. All except Good, that is. Always a neat man, he wanted to be clean and tidy. First, he carefully brushed his trousers and coat, and took a bath in the stream. Then, clad only in his flannel shirt, he produced a pocket razor and began to shave his stubbly beard. I watched idly. Suddenly, something flashed past his head. It was a spear. Now a group of men appeared. They were tall and copper-coloured, and wore leopard skins and plumes of black feathers. One of them, a young man, had thrown the spear, for his hand was still raised. They all advanced towards us, led by an older, soldier-like warrior. "Greetings!" I called to them in Zulu. "Greetings!" answered the old man. not in quite the same tongue, but in one so similar that Umbopa and I understood easily.
Who are you? Why are your faces white, and his like ours?
He pointed at Umbopa, and I saw that his skin was indeed like theirs. We are strangers come in peace, I replied.
Strangers? Strangers to Kukuana land must die. It is the king's law.
We are to be killed, I translated grimly for the others.
Oh, no.
Groaned Good. And, as was his way when perplexed, he put his hand to his false teeth. Dragging the top set down, he allowed it to fly back into his jaw with a snap. The next second, the dignified warriors uttered a yell of horror and bolted backwards.
He moved his teeth,
whispered Sir Henry excitedly.
Take them out, Good.
Good obeyed, slipping the set into his sleeve. The men had crept forward again, curiosity overcoming fear.
How is it, O strangers,
asked the old man,
that his teeth move?
Good promptly grinned, revealing empty gums. The audience gasped. Good swept his hand across his mouth, grinned again, and revealed 2 rows of lovely teeth.